In a recent grocery haul video, I talked about the USDA budget recommendations for food, their cost breakdowns and estimates for how much it would cost to feed a household based on the makeup of that household, the ages and the genders of the people residing in that house. And they had a recommendation for a high budget, a moderate budget, and a low budget. And then they had a fourth budget called the Thrifty budget. And when I crunched the numbers for that budget, it came out to around $275 a week that they estimate I would need to spend on food to feed my family nutritious meals. So in this video, I am shopping for a week of groceries for my family, and we're going to see what we can do with that Thrifty budget, or even a little bit less. We'll see where we land. I'll tell you exactly what I'm purchasing, and I will show you exactly the meals that I have planned for my family this week: breakfast, lunch, dinner, and snacks. I just pulled in to Walmart. I placed a grocery order for a lot of the items in this grocery haul I'm going to use for this meal plan, and I'm going to pick that up here in about an hour. But I wanted to go into the store for a few things, namely meat, because I want to make sure that I'm getting exactly the right size packages. I have a certain amount in mind for the recipes that I want, and since that can vary based on the packaging, I want to make sure that I'm getting exactly the amount of meat that I want for each recipe. I also want to pick out my own produce this time, and I find with these budget meal challenges, and I've done dozens of these over the years. I mean, I have an entire playlist full of this type of video. I'll leave it linked in the description box below in case you want to check it out. But I found in doing these videos and doing the cost breakdowns that I tend to spend about 20 to 30% of my budget on produce. I try not to skimp on fruits and vegetables just because we're on a budget. So you'll see a lot of those in our meals. And since I'm at Walmart and I'm going in the store, I will also check out the discount bread rack, see if I can pick up some cheap bread items to add to our meals this week. So I will run into the store and pick up the things I mentioned. I will drive around to the side and pick up my grocery order. I'll get it all home, show you what I purchased, and then tell you exactly how I'm going to use all of this to feed my entire family for a week. Proteins for dinners this week. I have 2 pounds of 90-10 ground beef. You can use a different kind of ground beef. I just bought 2 1-pound packages of the grass-fed ground beef. I have a package of smoked sausages. I paid extra to have the chicken breast already diced up for a meal I'm going to make this week. And then I have a rotisserie chicken as well. These salmon fillets are actually for a lunch prep, and I'll be showing you how I'm making those, what I'm putting together for a few lunches for my husband and myself this week. This is most of the produce, minus a couple of items that I'll show you here in just a minute, that I picked up for this week. A combination of fresh and frozen. I have a big package of romaine hearts, a package of 3 sweet peppers, some fruit over here. I was going to pick up some clementine oranges, but I have not liked the last few bags that I picked up. They weren't bad, they just didn't have good flavor. The apples have been good though, so I picked up a 3-pound bag of Honeycrisp. I like to get them in the ones that are already bagged at Walmart because they're smaller. They're not like the gigantic ones. These are just the right size for my kids. And also the opal apples have been really good. And the pears looked good today, so I picked out 4 pears to add to this haul as well. Plus some bananas, and that rounds out the fruit. And then for veggies, we have some mini cucumbers and baby carrots. My kids like to take those in their lunches. Frozen veggies, I've got a big, like 2-pound bag of frozen broccoli florets that we can roast to go with dinners. Some peas and carrots, 2 bags of riced cauliflower, and then a bag of sliced carrots. I mentioned earlier that I probably spend around 20 to 30% of my grocery budget on fruits and vegetables, and I would guess that about 5 to 10% of the grocery budget is spent restocking staple items. I'm talking seasonings and spices and condiments and stuff for the baking shelf like flour and sugar, different kinds of oils, the sorts of things that we use frequently in cooking but that don't have to be replaced with every single grocery haul. So for this particular grocery haul, the things that I needed to restock were onions. I was completely out, and I pick up just a big 3-pound bag of onions at Walmart or Aldi, and they usually last me at least a month. We were also out of mustard, and we're almost out of Italian seasoning, so I made sure that I grabbed some of that from the spice aisle. And then cornstarch and pancake syrup, which I guess isn't a staple. It's not a necessity, but my kids have been asking me for it. We've been out of it for a while, so I finally remembered to pick it up, and it's probably a thing that I only purchase like once every 3 to 6 months. Along with fruits and vegetables, this other stuff here that you see, I purchased specifically for lunch packing for the kids. I've got some lunch meat and some cheese slices and some bread for sandwiches, also some cheese sticks and some yogurt, a box of individual packages of Cheez-Its. Yes, I know that I'm paying more for them to be individually packaged, but if I count on the kids to portion these out when they're packing their lunches, a box will go much faster than just this box with them already portioned out. I also have some chicken nuggets. My kids will throw these into the air fryer in the morning and then pack them in their lunch, but be aware, if you buy the kind that I purchased today, these are raw chicken nuggets. They need to be cooked to a safe internal temperature. My kids know how to do that in the air fryer and to use our little thermopin to check the temperature. If that is not something you are comfortable with or you want a different option, there are lots of fully cooked chicken nuggets available at the grocery store. Sometimes I buy these right here. This brand is a fully cooked chicken nugget, so you're basically just reheating it in the air fryer or the oven, however you want to make them. In teaching our kids to pack their own lunches, we say some kind of main course with a protein, so like a sandwich, or in this case, maybe the chicken nuggets, or maybe some leftovers from another meal we've eaten throughout the week, a fruit and or a vegetable, preferably both, a chip or a cracker, and then if we happen to have any treats, if we happen to have cookies or something like that, they can take one of those as well. And then sometimes they'll supplement with some extra proteins, like maybe one of the yogurts or one of the cheese sticks or something, or they might just wait and have those after school. I also picked up a frozen pizza, a box of shells and cheese, and a couple cans of soup. Sometimes we use these things on the weekends for easy lunches when the kids can make lunch at home. If we end up eating leftovers or something like that instead, then these are still in the pantry and in the freezer for us to use at a later date. When it comes to breakfast, my family are not huge breakfast eaters, so I am typically just picking up things of the grab and go variety or things that can be prepped and eaten very quickly. And these serve as both breakfast options and snack options. Sometimes my kids will have them after school as well as before school. Some breakfast options here. I did pick up a package of English muffins. I ordered the 100% whole wheat, but they ended up subbing them for these, the 100-calorie light English muffins, but that's okay. They still have 8 grams of fiber, so I can live with that. Got some peanut butter for those, or they can make peanut butter sandwiches too for breakfast or lunch. I have a box of grab-and-go breakfast bars. These are great. Pair these with a fruit or a string cheese or something like that. When it comes to cereal, I try to cut down on the sugar, so if I'm not buying one that's a little lower in sugar, one of my tricks is to mix like a plain cereal, like these plain Cheerios, with some of the flavored Cheerios. So then they're getting, half of just a plain cereal and then only half of the sugar sweetened cereal. I did pick up a half gallon of milk so they could have that with the cereal this week. My kids have been really into smoothies lately, for snacks or for breakfast. So this is a big 3-pound package of frozen strawberries and bananas. And I got some Greek vanilla yogurt, and then they put just a splash of milk into the blender, blend it all up and make a smoothie that they have either for snack after sports and stuff, or they can make one for breakfast. I also have some cottage cheese here. My son and I both really like this as a snack. I am going to be making a strawberry cake that my mom used to make growing up. I'm going to show you how I do that later on in the video, but these 4 items that you see right here are what I purchased for that recipe. I am going to take the shortcut and just use a store-bought icing, but I'm going to add something to that to make it even better. I have 1 3-ounce box of strawberry gelatin and 1 15-ounce container of sweetened frozen strawberries. You need the sweetened kind. And 1 white cake mix. This is the Duncan Hines brand specifically. I noticed recently that the Betty Crocker cake mixes are now only 13¼ ounces. And the last time I tried to use one of my tried and true recipes, it didn't turn out right. And then I noticed that the cake mix has gone down in size. So that's why I picked up the Duncan Hines, because it is still 15¼ ounces. So I think it will work great with this recipe. I mean, not to get all ranty, but I would much rather pay more for the standard size of cake mix than have shrinkflation happen. That messes up so many recipes that call for cake mix. Don't they know that? Does anybody else run into that problem? The rest of my haul are just items that I needed to round out recipes in the meal plan for the week. I've got 2 pounds of cheese. I picked up 1 pound of Monterey Jack and 1 pound of sharp cheddar, plus a 5-ounce container of shaved Parmesan cheese. 1 pound of butter. I've been wanting to try this Better Goods brand whole milk Greek yogurt, maybe to make some yogurt bowls for breakfast. 16 ounces of sour cream, 1 can of diced tomatoes with green chilies, 2 cans of minestrone soup, some Caesar salad dressing, and they really didn't have a lot to choose from. I wanted one that was refrigerated, so I went with the Panera bread. I'm going to use that for a couple of dinners. A pound of rice. I went with brown rice this time. You could use regular rice, white rice, whatever rice you want. I have some salsa, 1 pound of pasta, some tortilla chips. I was able to score a couple of loaves of French bread marked down to 54 cents from the discount bakery rack. And also in my bakery, they had these flour tortillas marked down. These are better than the ones you buy like in the package over in the bread aisle. And I got the burrito size. There's only 6 in here, but the net weight is 20.5 ounces compared to like 14 ounces of the smaller size, which would have been the same price, considering that I'm getting these marked down to $2.50. I'm going to pop these into the freezer though until we're ready to use them later in the week because they do spoil very quickly on the counter. Oh, and also a package of just add milk blueberry muffins. I don't even know if I'll use these this week, but I went ahead and picked them up. And I almost forgot because they were hiding on the back counter. 2 boxes of Jiffy corn muffin mix. Man, I keep finding things that I forgot because I stuck them on different parts of the counter around the kitchen. A pound of dry pinto beans and a can of mixed vegetable medley. And for real, I think that is it now. Let's take a minute to thank today's sponsor, Fabric by Gerber Life. Having a handle on our household budget is a way that we provide security for ourselves and our families, right? I mean, if we know where we stand financially, we can know that we're going to be able to keep a roof over our heads and keep food on the table and purchase the necessities of life, pay our bills, and hopefully have a little bit left over for some luxuries, right? And one way you can provide financial security for your family's future is by ensuring that you have high quality term life insurance. But it doesn't have to be super complicated and it doesn't have to break the bank. Fabric by Gerber Life is term life insurance you can get done from your couch. It's all online and on your schedule. You could be covered in under 10 minutes with no health exam required. And Fabric has flexible, high quality policies that fit your family and your budget, like $1 million of coverage for less than $1 a day. I know none of us like to think what our families would do if the unthinkable happens and we're no longer here to care for them, especially if you're young and healthy. But actually, that's the best time to lock in low rates. And you can't put a price on peace of mind, especially when it comes to your family. Plus, with Fabric, there is a 30-day money-back guarantee. You can cancel at any time. They have over 1,900 5-star reviews on Trustpilot, and it's for more than just insurance. Fabric offers access to free digital wills and investment accounts for your kids' futures, and you can manage it all right from your phone. Join the thousands of parents that trust Fabric to help protect their family. Apply today in just minutes at meetfabric.com/cmindymom. That's meetfabric.com/cmindymom, meetfabric.com/cmindymom. And thank you again to Fabric for sponsoring today's video. Let's get back to it. I already shared with you several options for lunches for the kids, things that they're packing, and even a few things that they can make at home for the days when they're not at school during lunchtime. But let me share with you a few lunch preps that I'm making for my husband and myself to have some extra lunch options this week, in addition to, leftovers or other things we might have hanging around. I am cooking up my entire 1 pound package of pinto beans. I use the crock pot to do this. If I didn't get my beans soaking the night before, I'll do a quick soak where I just put them on the stove and bring them to a boil for 2 minutes and then turn the heat off and let them sit for at least an hour before I drain them and rinse them and pop them into the crock pot. I'm keeping this really simple to cook today. I have a whole onion that I peeled and just put in there whole. I have a bunch of garlic, and then I have about a tablespoon of cumin and about 2 tablespoons of chili powder. I'm going to add 2 quarts. That is 8 cups of water. I'm going to get these cooking on high. I'll just keep an eye on them, make sure that there's enough liquid in them because I soaked them. This should be enough liquid to cook them through. And once they're tender, we'll be ready to divide them up for my recipes. And I'm going to use about half of them to do a lunch prep for the week. I let my beans cook for about 5 hours on high. They are done now, and I already took out the onion and tossed it. And I also set aside 2 containers, about 1.5 cups each, of cooked beans for dinners this week. Now what I'm going to do is drain off a lot of this liquid. I'll probably just ladle a lot of the liquid out. And then I'm going to put about half of the remaining beans with about 1/2 cup of the liquid into the blender and blend them up and put them back into the crock pot with the whole beans, and then stir in about 1 cup of shredded cheddar cheese. I haven't finished making all of these up yet. I have enough to make 5 or 6 of these little lunch preps, but here's an example. I cooked up some of my brown rice, and then I also cooked up some of my riced cauliflower. I like to mix those together half and half. You don't have to if you don't want to do the cauliflower rice. I just like that as like an added veggie. And then here's my cheesy pinto beans. This is very tasty and very filling and super, super cheap. But if you want something a little more bougie, let me show you the other lunch prep I'm gonna make. Somehow I managed to lose the audio for this particular clip, so I'm just gonna jump in here, future Mindy jumping in here to tell you about these salmon fillets. You saw these in my grocery haul. These are really easy to make one at a time in the air fryer, and since I work from home, it's a great lunch for me. I just put it on a piece of foil with a little bit of olive oil and whatever seasoning I have in mind. I think I just used an all-purpose seasoning on this day, and I cook it in the air fryer until it's done. And how long that takes depends on if the fish is completely thawed out or if it's a little bit frozen still. Mine took about 15 minutes this day. And then underneath I have a mixture of brown rice, cauliflower rice, peas, and carrots cooked to make like a little rice pilaf. And I had a little bit of balsamic glaze in my refrigerator, so I put a little bit of that over the top to complete this lunch. And I can make this lunch 3 or 4 times depending on how many fillets are in my bag. It comes with either 3 or 4 depending on the size of the fillets. But this was absolutely delicious and a great protein-rich lunch with some veggies in there as well. I have my oven preheating to 350, and we are going to throw this cake together. I'm adapting this recipe from something my mom used to make when we were kids growing up. So you'll need a box of white cake mix, 3 eggs, a 3-ounce package of strawberry jello, half a cup of water, half a cup of oil or butter, and half a cup of sour cream. And then the original recipe used a 10-ounce package, half of a 10-ounce package of frozen sweetened strawberries. They used to come in a little box, but now they come in this size container, and it's almost a 1-pound package. So I'm going to use 2/3 of a cup of these sweetened frozen strawberries in the batter. I'm going to get that all mixed up and poured into a greased 9x13 cake pan, and then popped into the 350-degree oven until the cake is done cooking, usually somewhere in the vicinity of around 25 to 30 minutes. It just depends on the pan you're using. The icing originally was a 1-pound box of powdered sugar, another 5 ounces or 2/3 of a cup of frozen sweetened strawberries, a stick of margarine. That was the original recipe. I am taking a shortcut today, and I'm going to actually use some of this already made vanilla frosting. I'm going to add about a 1/4 cup of the frozen strawberries, and then I'm going to put that into my stand mixer and whip it so that it gets nice and fluffy. I might have to add a little bit of powdered sugar to that as well, just to kind of stiffen it up a little bit, especially since we're adding the strawberries. But that's my plan for making the icing today for the cake. Typically speaking, if I am feeding my family for a week, I'm making a week-long meal plan, I need no more than 5 dinners. Sometimes only 4, depending on the week, but no more than 5. If I plan more than 5 nights of dinners, we're gonna have more leftovers than we know what to do with. Or I'm gonna have the ingredients for that meal, but I'm gonna end up not making it, or I'm gonna make it and then it's gonna end up going to waste because we already have a lot of food or leftovers from previous meals that we need to eat up. Dinner number 1 is chicken Caesar salads. I'm going to debone that rotisserie chicken, take all the meat off the bones. I'm gonna wash up 2 of my 3 romaine hearts, chop those up, dress that with some of the Caesar dressing that I purchased, and also top it with a little bit of the Parmesan cheese. And I didn't buy any croutons because I plan to make garlic toast with some of the French bread that I purchased. So that'll be like a really easy, quick meal that I can make on a night this week. Another dinner, and it's actually one that's been requested by my kids recently, is a cheesy smoked sausage pasta. The original recipe is coming from Budget Savvy Diva. I've made this many times before on my channel, so I will leave that linked in the description box below. And I've got several different veggie options. I'll probably roast some of that broccoli and carrots to have alongside with this, maybe even make up those blueberry muffins to go along with it. My oldest daughter has requested a taco night. So I'm gonna use 1 of those pounds of ground beef, season that up with a little taco seasoning. We have cheese, we have sour cream, we have salsa, we have lettuce we can use to make up some tacos. I'll also probably whip up some refried beans with a little bit of sour cream and cheese, and we'll have chips and salsa to go along with that as well. And probably some kind of vegetable, maybe some of those peppers that I purchased sauteed, or some more broccoli. My mom made this soup a lot, especially when I was in high school and college. She always called it Sooner soup, or sometimes cowboy stew if my OSU attending siblings were home for the weekend. And I have looked online for a recipe that is similar to what she made, and there's lots of 7-can soups I find on Pinterest or via Google, but they're not the exact same as the one she made. Basically, it's a pound of ground beef cooked, and then you add to that 2 cans of beans. She always used ranch style beans. I am making pinto beans in the crock pot this week, so I'm just gonna use those and throw in a little chili powder and cumin and salt and pepper. 1 can of mixed vegetables, 1 can of rotel, diced tomatoes with green chilies, and then 2 cans of minestrone soup. And that is actually what helps flavor the soup quite a lot. We always ate this with a little bit of shredded cheese stirred in, and I'm also gonna cook up some cornbread to go along with it. And that'll be another easy dinner, and even one that I can make ahead of time and leave simmering on the stove or in the crock pot for us to eat in shifts as we come and go from various activities. One new recipe we're trying this week, new to us, is from the Cozy Cook. I'll leave it linked in the description box below. It is for a 1-pot chicken Caesar pasta, and I'll show you how I'm making that. We are having this chicken Caesar pasta. It is coming from the Cozy Cook. I will leave this recipe linked in the description box below. And earlier today, I got my chicken pieces marinating. I bought the chicken breast already diced up. It was just a convenience I was willing to pay for this week, and I marinated them in a little bit of the Panera Caesar dressing that I bought for the Caesar salads we made earlier. And now I'm going to cook these pieces up in a little bit of oil in a pan on the stove and set that aside, and then we'll get going with the sauce and cooking the pasta for the rest of the recipe. My chicken is cooked and it is resting on a plate next to me, and in my pot now I have about a tablespoon of butter and some minced garlic. The recipe says to leave the juices that the chicken renders while it cooks in the pot. So that's what I did. And I'm just gonna let this garlic cook until it starts to get fragrant, about another 30 seconds or so. Now I'm adding 3 teaspoons of lemon pepper and 2 cups of chicken broth, but I'm just making mine with 2 teaspoons of broth base and 2 cups of hot water. The recipe calls for 1/4 cup of Caesar dressing plus 3/4 cup of milk mixed together, and all I had left of my Caesar dressing was about 1/4 cup, so I just poured 3/4 cup of milk into this bottle, and it's been sitting out on the counter for a little while because the recipe says it works best if you let it come to room temperature. So I'm gonna stir this into the broth mixture. I'm gonna bring it to a simmer and then add 8 ounces of pasta and cover it and let it cook on low until the pasta is done cooking, probably about 10 minutes or so. Okay, my pasta is almost done cooking, so I'm going to stir in 1/2 cup of Parmesan cheese. It's probably more like 3/4 cup, but oh well. You can never have too much cheese. And also my cooked chicken pieces. Give that a good stir. And then I'm gonna pop the lid back on and let it keep cooking on low for just about 2 more minutes to let the pasta finish cooking and soak up the rest of the sauce, and let the chicken heat through and the cheese completely melt. And then it will be ready to plate up with some vegetables and some garlic toast. So I really like this, especially if you're looking for something different with the pasta than just like a red sauce or a cream sauce. I mean, I know that there's cheese in this and you've got a little of the creaminess from the milk and the Caesar dressing, but it's not as rich as like a fettuccine, like an Alfredo sauce. I just, for me personally, would probably reduce the lemon pepper a little bit. It's a little bit lemony for me, but I would definitely make it again with that little adjustment. And maybe even just cook the pasta in the broth and then stir in a little heavy cream and the Caesar dressing at the end and just see how that works out. Definitely worth trying and definitely worth making again. So on the 6th and 7th nights, we typically need to use at least one night to eat up leftovers and to use up food that we already have on hand. And then one night we will often pick up takeout or we'll go out to eat. If that is not an option for me, I'm still probably gonna do something super easy. Like maybe just pick up a few cans of soup or a take and bake pizza or something like that for that 7th night, because I really like to have at least one night when we're not cooking a bunch. Since I shared this grocery haul with you in kind of a different way, instead of like putting everything out all at once and going through it all at once, like I kind of divided it up according to how I plan to use it. Let me pop a list up here on the screen right now of everything that I purchased, along with a picture of everything. Just in case you wanted to recreate this, you can screenshot this right now and you can have a record of everything that I bought. Now I know the big question everybody is asking, but what did I spend? How much did this all cost? Not including tax, because that varies from place to place and a lot of places don't have any tax on food. I spent $125.46 on my grocery pickup order, and I spent $88.09 on my in-store order. And this brings my grand total to $213.55 that I spent on everything that I've shown you. And that is still about $60 under the Thrifty budget recommendation recommendations so far. So maybe I set that aside for a Sam's Club run. Maybe I siphon that off into my recreation budget so we can go out to eat. Maybe I want to do like a midweek produce restock or just keep that on hand for extra things we want. Or maybe next time I'm picking up a few luxury items like steaks and shrimp or something. I don't know. Regardless, bottom line, I spent around $214 on this grocery haul that made all of the meals, breakfast, lunches, dinners, snacks that I showed you that my family ate this week. If you want to see more videos like this one with a complete grocery haul and meal plan, be sure to leave me a comment and let me know. Pick out one of these videos to watch next, and I'll see you there.